Novak Djokovic. Photo, Marianne Bevis. Since Roger Federer won the first of his 5 titles at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden in 2004, only 3 players have managed to get their hands on the trophy, barring a certain Ivan Ljubicic, now retired and coaching Federer, the Swiss, and his 2 greatest rivals, Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal. Remarkably, 15 years on, these champions are still 3 of the top 4 ranked players in the Indian Wells draw. And that leaves 2 big questions hanging in the clear, dry air of the Californian desert. Will the spoils again go to one of these remarkable, and remarkably dominant, men, and if so, to which one? And if not, is it at last the turn of one of the bright new stars to take over the mantle? Well, not judging by recent Indian Wells results or those of the other big tournaments. For while each man has suffered injury setbacks during the last 3 years, each has produced quite exceptional comebacks, each winning multiple majors and masters, each rising back to number 1. Comebacks of former champs, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic in early 2016, it was the oldest of the trio, Federer. After the Australian Open, he had the first surgery of his career, missed Indian Wells, and played just 5 tournaments before pulling out of the season after Wimbledon. But from a ranking of 17 at the start of 2017, he won 2 majors, 3 masters, Indian Wells among them, and 2 500s, and went on to win the Australian Open again last year. He was back at number 1 by the time he again made the final at Indian Wells. Later in 2016, it was Nadal. A wrist injury forced him to withdraw from the 3rd round at the French Open, and he too would play just 5 more tournaments that year. And he too would return in Australia reinvigorated, and rise from number 9 to number 1 by the time he won his 2nd major of the year at the US Open, 2 majors, 2 masters, 2 500s. Last year, he was hit by more injuries, more absences, including Indian Wells, as knee and hip problems cut his schedule after the US Open. His clay run had been enough to regain the number 1 ranking, but that was about to change as the 3rd man came up on the rails. In that same year, 2016, the youngest of the trio, Djokovic, was top man. He completed his slam with Roland Garros after winning Australia, plus 4 Masters, and that after winning 11 titles in 2015, 3 majors, 6 Masters, and the ATP Finals. He was number 1 for those entire 2 years, but now it would be his turn to face injury and a ranking slump. He did not play the second half of 2017 due to an elbow problem that would persist into 2018, forcing surgery after Australia. By Rome, and on into the grass season, he had turned a corner, halted the 6-win major run of Federer and Nadal, inevitably replaced them at number 1, now holds 3 major titles, and has won 45 of his past 49 matches. Djokovic, clear water at the top, favorite for more records. It is hard to believe Djokovic was ranked 22 just 9 months ago, and even harder to comprehend the margin he now holds at the top, more than 2,500 over Nadal, and more than 6,000 over Federer. And while Nadal has no points to defend until his 1,000 at Monte Carlo, Djokovic has only 155 to defend until mid-May. Who knows what kind of margin he will have by then? But it is not just in rankings that Djokovic has milestones to reach. With victory in Indian Wells, he will draw a level with Nadal's current record 33 Masters titles. And he will outstrip Federer's joint record of 5 Indian Wells to grab a 6th. To help him on his way, he opens against a qualifier, but his round 3 match jumps off the page. Nick Kyrgios leapt into the number 31 seeding with a stunning run in Acapulco last week to beat 3 top 10 players. It's Kyrgios who beat Djokovic in Indian Wells 2 years ago, too, but how much does the 23-year-old firebrand have left? Probably not enough for the fresh Djokovic. Round the 4th of May bring another man of supreme but unpredictable talent, Gael Monfils, who won Rotterdam then made the semis in Dubai, a 12-3 start to 2019. The same question applies, however, and Monfils has a formidable opener against the 6'11" winner of New York, 21-year-old Riley Opelka. The quarter-finals throw in Borna Coric and Dominic Thiem, with number 3 seed Alexander Zverev, lately a finalist in Acapulco, scheduled for the semis. Zverev, though, will have plenty of challengers in a particularly strong, young quarter. And what Djokovic has avoided is a clash with Federer in the semis. The Swiss fell into Nadal's half. Federer's rocky road. Not only does Federer have final points to defend, and he will need to banish memories of 3 lost match points in that final against Del Potro, he faces the prospect of one of the toughest unseeded men in the draw, his friend Stan Wawrinka, the man he beat to claim the 2017 title, in the third round. Indeed, Federer needs to put on points if he is to keep the chasing pack at bay. Nishikori and Kevin Anderson have only to go deeper than Federer to overtake him, and Thiem, John Isner and Stefanos Tsitsipas can also all overtake him if they win the title. Wawrinka, finalist in Rotterdam, looms after either Andreas Seppi or Peter Gojowczyk, though he first has to play the informed Brit Dan Evans before number 26 seed Martin Fucsovics, who incidentally, is at a career high after testing Federer in Dubai. Nishikori and Cilic are potential quarterfinal opponents for Federer, but before that are Kyle Edmund or Fabio Fognini, with dangerous Francis Tiafoe and Delray Beach champion Rafael Bot unseeded floaters. And what of Tsitsipas and the other rising stars? The charismatic Greek has well and truly made his mark in the last year, won his first title in Stockholm in October, his second in Marseille a fortnight back, and reached the final in Dubai. He also made his first major semi, via Federer, in Australia, and has become the standard-bearer for a slew of young challengers. Into the top 10 for the first time, he is already 15-5 for the season, and an explosive performer who relishes the big stage. Zverev may be only 21 and have Masters titles to his name already, but Tsitsipas promises to follow suit very soon in a quarter full of similarly youthful ambition. Number 23 seed Alex de Minaur won in Sydney, and 20-year-old Hugo Humbert was semi-finalist in Marseille and winner of the Cherbourg Challenger this year. Teenager Felix Auger-Aliassime made the final in Rio, and he faces a fascinating opener against 23-year-old Cam Norrie, finalist in Auckland and semi-finalist in Acapulco, also at a career-high 48. Among their older challengers are the resilient Roberto Bautista Agut, Anderson, and former Indian Wells finalist Milos Raonic. Nadal brings up the rear in decent quarter. It is the quarter containing the most qualifiers and packed with fellow 30-somethings. Nadal cannot face a top 100 player until his first seed, number 25 Diego Schwartzman, who he has beaten in all 6 previous meetings. The more intriguing match might be in round 4, a first with career-high Daniil Medvedev, winner in Sofia, last 4 in Rotterdam, and the final in Brisbane. The young Russian may first have to beat David Goffin. Nadal's quarterfinal could produce one of those older men, the unseeded but informed Tomas Berdych, 12-5 this year, who plays fellow veteran Feliciano Lopez in his opener. This segment of 6 over 30s is topped by Isner, who has scored 3 straight semi-finals before Indian Wells but has never beaten Nadal. Draw overview, top half Djokovic vs Thiem, also here, Kyrgios, Benoit Paire, Coric, Opelka, Monfils, Zverev vs Anderson, also here, de Minaur, Tsitsipas, Auger-Aliassime, Grigor Dimitrov. Draw overview, bottom half Federer vs Nishikori, also here, Shapovalov, Cilic, Wawrinka, Edmund, Evans, Fognini. Nadal vs Isner, also here, Ernest Skulbis, Berdych, Karen Khachanov, Medvedev. Former champions in draw, Novak Djokovic, 5, Rafael Nadal, 3, Roger Federer, 5, former finalists in draw, Federer, 3, Nadal, 1, Djokovic, 1, Wawrinka, 1, Raonic, 1, Isner, 1, 2018 semi-finalists, Federer beat Coric, Del Potro beat Raonic. Indian Wells, Miami, Sunshine double, Djokovic, 4, Federer, 3, potential seeds missing, Del Potro, defending champion, Richard Gasquet, Fernando Verdasco. Career highs this week in main draw, Daniil Medvedev, 14, Marcos Echinato, 15, Guido Pella, 33, Rafael Bot, 50, Riley Opelka, 55, John Muir, 56, Mackenzie McDonald, 58, champions this season so far, hard courts, outdoor, Roberto Bautista Agut, Doha, Kei Nishikori, Brisbane, Kevin Anderson, Pune, Alex de Minaur, Sydney, Tennis Sandgren, Auckland, Novak Djokovic, Australian Open, Raidu Albat, Delray Beach, Czech Qualis, Roger Federer, Dubai, ITF Hopman Cup, Nick Kyrgios, Acapulco, Indoor, Joe Wilfried Tsonga, Montpellier, not playing IW, Daniil Medvedev, Sofia, Gael Monfils, Rotterdam, Riley Opelka, New York, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Marseille.